and marketing.
Let's talk about October 19th. 4 days afterwards, your dad gets a call, according to his book, from Chris Sobel, whatever.
Yep.
The conduit between Panda and TNA. And it said that he wants to place your dad as COO of the company and you in charge of creative. But you just laid out a minute ago that you were going to be COO. What do you remember about this?
I don't remember that version.
Okay. There's another call 5 days later, the 24th, coming off a show where it seems like your dad's ability to run creative came into question. And your dad apparently let you know that he was no longer interested in doing creative if this is what the plan for the company is. And your dad, and again, I don't know how much of this we want to get into, but he wrote in his book that y'all had a pretty heart-to-heart conversation about the way you felt about him. I don't know how much of that we want to share, but now all of a sudden the challenge of family involved in business, boy, it feels like the volume was turned up in a big way. Do you remember this being the beginning of things getting tough working with Dad?
It was tough day one, much more so than I expected.
On your side or his side or both?
I think both. I think there was an underlying current that, because I'll never forget the conversation of, hey, Dad, I'm starting the wrestling company and we've gone through this, but paraphrasing, how much do you want to invest and how much, figuring out the ownership. And he told me real quick, something that he had said many, many times, a wrestling industry business will only work if you have one person. So I'm not doing 50-50. So one of us needs to be in charge. And he said, I think you should be. It's a young man's game. This is your idea to move forward with it. I'm doing my construction. And I'm like, okay, so do we do 2/3, 1/3, that kind of conversation? Yeah, that works for me. You be in charge. That was the conversation. And then real quick, when we got into it, it's one thing to say you're in charge. It's another thing to say, hey, you're in charge on paper, but I really think we're going to go my way creatively. And you've been around wrestling now, not just as a fan, but as in the business. I know it's a podcast business, but you understand the dynamics much better than hell anybody that I personally know of. But I mean, everybody, it's the wacky side of this business.
Yeah.
It's down to creative. The armchair quarterback almost becomes the authority. And I don't care if it's social media or sitting around having coffee or in a creative booking room. When people come up with their own ideas and creative, and then you shoot it down, no matter if you're just as diplomatically as you possibly can be, people take it personal. It's just how it was. And so from day one, me and my father, well, you're shaking your head. I don't know if that's good or bad.
Well, because we've all been there. Like, you know that I have my mom and dad work at my mortgage company. But when I'm up there, I don't know that you've noticed this, I refer to them as Larry and Deborah.
Yes.
Now at home, I don't ever call when I go over to his house or he comes over to mine, he ain't anything but Dad. But when we walk through the front door, she's Deborah and he's Larry and I'm Conrad. And when we walk out and we go to lunch, it's Mom, Dad, and their son going to eat lunch. But I'm able to separate that, and Mama ain't always able to do that. And so sometimes when Mom and I have a situation at work where she didn't do something the way I needed her to or whatever, now we get emotional mom. And if anybody else was coming in my door and crying, I'd be like, oh God, what is this? But as much as I try to make it Deborah, when she comes in upset, I can't help but be son. And I can only imagine what that must have been like when you feel like your dad is saying, well, I'm out of here. And you are a product of divorce. And as much as you just want to be Jeff, a little bit of son comes out. And then a little bit of dad comes out. And before you know it, this is not just a regular day at the office. This is tough. Fair to say?
And I respect you, but the wisdom that you just, oh, Conrad, I wish you had you around back in 2002, because that little fester that started June 19th, 2002, eventually ended up into a multi-year estrangement,
Which sucks.
Of not speaking. And to really, as I sit here today, when you drill it down, that's just ridiculous.
It is.
It is so ridiculous. I mean, if anybody's out there listening,
learn from us in this story.
Kid, man. I mean, pick up the phone and call mom and dad, or dad, call your son or daughter, and just say, my advice would be, all right, we're not going to talk about business. It doesn't come into our conversation. We'll talk about anything but business.
By the way, that is a rule. If I'm at their house or they're at my house and mom says, now son, did you see? I'll just hold my hand up. Hang on. Let's talk about it Monday at the office.
That's wisdom right there, buddy.
And don't get me wrong. When you're at my house, when you're down visiting, all me and you do is talk about business, but you're also not my dad.
That's right.
So it's fine for us to talk about that on my couch. But what I'm not going to do is allow family time to become work time, because if those get confused, man, there's just hurt feelings all around.
So Conrad, to drill it one step further, because I had anger and resentment and just a disastrous of a relationship. And then you get into just the whole family dynamic. But guess what? Christine JArrett. Guess who her partner was? Her son. So my dad got it honestly.
Yeah.
And he had run-ins with his mother.
Of course.
But it's just, unless you've got the wisdom of the podfather, said, hold on, but you still got to run into that.
Oh, yeah.
30 days, you may have to put your hand up once, maybe twice. But it made it really tough. And again, you text me 2 nights ago and we were going something back, and not out of the blue, but you just said, dude, wrestling is weird sometimes, or something along those lines. But that's so, again, getting into creative. And that's where the eternal optimist, hell, I thought I could get Cornette and Russo to work together. I thought I could get my father and Russo to work together. I thought I could get Dix. I mean, again, that eternal optimist doesn't always work, but when you put the pressure cooker of the family situation on another layer of divorce, my parents got divorced when I was 3, never saw them have a humane conversation in my life. So you just get layer after layer after layer after layer. So we really went down a rabbit hole there, but I don't even know what your question was. But my father getting a call from Sobel and then him saying he's out, I don't even recall.
Well, the call was, you guys ran a show that wasn't received well critically. Okay. And lots of people were saying this show sucks. And it was a show your dad booked.
Okay.
And your dad, when obviously you want to turn that around, you want to make sure that fans are with you. You've got this goodwill with fans. You need to, let's give them what they want, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And if you're going to look to make a change and your dad thinks, well, that change is going to involve a type of wrestling or a brand of content or storytelling, whatever, that I don't want to participate in, that it maybe drudges up you some old feelings and you allegedly bring it into a family conversation. And now he's all tore up and it's heavy. Let's talk about business though.
Okay.
November 4th in the Observer, the report comes out regarding a deal. And also that Vince Russo has been attempting to go around your dad to Panda about the creative. And we're going to get into this a lot more in the future, but all of a sudden it hits you in the face. You know, we thought through this entire episode, God, if we could just secure funding, man, if we can just keep the lights on, we just got to keep going. And now we've checked all those boxes. We're going, but now we got to wonder, why are we doing this? You know, it felt like this is if we could just get this locked down, we've made it. but now it's like, oh wait, back to the reality of wrestling politics and content, and none of that was even paramount. It was, we got to save the thing, we got to keep the lights on. But now that that's behind us, boy, here come those creative discussions and politics all over again.
We got back to sea level, and we thought we were coming up at sea level, and it was going to be nice old Hickory Lake out there. Looked like a bathtub this morning, Conrad. But in reality, we came up in the North Sea, and waves were crashing down, and a couple of things turned over. Yeah, that well said. That is exactly as we got back where our neck, we'll say, was out of the water. So our head, and we're looking around, but the waves were rocking.